In this, hopefully, fourth turn, if I'm keeping track of things correctly, the Hittites slam forward with, what is this, the third division here, grinding into this kind of flank that they've been pushing forward. And they cause a little bit more disruption. They got some hits in that they hadn't been able to before, just because, you know, the Egyptians have taken enough disruption damage, as it were, that they had to try to stand in some cases. They couldn't rout away easily or run away. In fact, one unit ran and forced itself into a rout situation. It's kind of like, oops. We got one engagement here, and otherwise sort of a mixed, in terms of permanent losses, equal, but the Egyptians have taken a couple more routs in there in addition. So the Hittites followed up by slicing kind of through here and shooting down. They routed one of those heavy infantry elites or whatever, but it's just routed. And then we had the Egyptians drew their first division, which kind of sliced through here, scaring them away with infantry, actually. Scaring the chariots back and slammed in. They actually did a chariot and a runner slammed into the flank, I think. No, that wasn't the flank, was it? This was the flank attack, I think. Anyway, they knocked out a couple of Hittite units down here. Got some free shots in and everything. And they're kind of breaking through here in the center, even though they're getting outflanked in both directions. Sort of an enveloping move, but there's no big anvil here. I don't know. Didn't have to be one at Kenai, so I don't know if there has to here. And there is a reserve that's able to come up and handle things. And that massive infantry formation. Not through any real fault of my own, I moved these guys forward. I seem to have some sort of reserve here in this 6th Division sitting back here. It's just a matter that they can't reach the line and start shooting it up, but it is kind of an interesting factor to have these fairly fresh troops. I just don't want to push them too hard because most of them are 7 speed. They're not right at the front, so it's kind of hard. They were doing this big outflanking type move, and now, well, they got kind of left behind, but they form up this nice force so that if this gets dispersed a little, they can slam in and keep the pressure on the Egyptians and allow, say, this 3rd Division to kind of recover a little bit. So far it's not been happening, but they are certainly within striking range, which is kind of a nice thing for them. And the traffic jam got to be too much for me. I'm turning these guard units around and pushing them back around the infantry like I was mentioning. I've also pulled the leader off because I've got a lot of rallied stuff that can't get through because of the clutter on the road too. Oh well. Well, being able to call on the infantry in a couple of key locations, including these guys, one of which was engaged, managed to shove that Hittite force back. No losses to it, but it's just a matter of kind of this, if the infantry comes, the chariots run away. But the chariots, the Hittite chariots can handle whatever the Egyptian chariots can do, except for lining up and firing at them. And that's the thing that they wanted to avoid, so they charged. But now when they see infantry come forward, they've got to fall back. It's just this weird sort of waving back and forth. Just really seems very funny. To me, one of the weird things in this is the orderly withdrawal. The chariots can do that without basically taking losses unless they're hit from behind. But in a sense, if they're hit from behind, should be the safest for them. They see someone coming, they whip their horses, and they go a little faster. There should be a check that can cause losses for them. When being approached head-on, because they have to wheel, and they should be making the chariot turnover roll for that. That's just my feeling on this. I don't know what it's supposed to represent that they don't, but I think it's kind of an error in that sense. The Egyptian momentum move was used on this 1st Division, which continued recovering, but mainly punched its way down here, and you can see the Hittites are getting divided further and further as this section is just getting crushed away what little connection there is to the force in the this isn't the north, I don't know what it is, well, it might be, is just, you know, getting stretched further and further as they punch further and deeper in. And the infantry are really pushing this because the chariots can't hold up against them. Anyway, after that, the Hittite infantry creeps its way across the river. This 4th division, not much left of it there. There's like 3 units. 2 of them recovered. 1 of them charged forward and hit a chariot runner infantry combination. The chariot broke and disappeared. The runner couldn't hold up and also is gone, and both are destroyed, not routed. Things are looking pretty bad for the Egyptians in terms of numbers. We're at 52, 84 for the Hittites. It's just kind of a luck factor, but with some of the weaker infantry units, etc., that the Egyptians have, the runners, for example, the light infantry, stuff like that, they've got more of a chance of losing things until that Hittite infantry mass comes into play and starts taking losses. So there's a real disadvantage to having the weaker units in this game, just like there is in SPQR, but in this one, well, the weaker, you only have to kind of fail once to be destroyed in this. In most of the great battles of history, you have to rout, and, well, you have to fail your rally. But that's less based on the quality of the unit. Here you're making a check against the quality of the unit, so those weaker units are more likely to end up on your score side than the big units. Anyway, we're getting down to the bottom of this turn. Ouch. Hittite cav from here just slashed across, smacking up all the yummy goodies that was routing around the pharaoh there. And actually the pharaoh can withdraw with his flag by a space because people came too close to him. But that's a big score there, 9, 16, 21 of those points. Now, what was there, 50 something? That's, you know, 40% of his route points just disappeared there in one hit. But for the cleanup, that's it. We had this last 5th division, some of it doing some recovery type actions, but others, 2 of these javelin chariots slammed into where there were a couple of Egyptian bowmen. They can't get out of the way, they can't do anything, they're just waiting there to be killed. Well, lucky for them, they were able to rout instead of dying. But things do not look good for the Egyptians at this point, with only like 31 points left and being hit right in their tenderest spot right here. Ouch. Oh my. Alright, the Egyptians start things off with the momentum. They move their 1st division. We have them, they made the choice to charge with their chariot and runners because things aren't working well with this standoff attack. They need to keep carving out more space. They sent an infantry back this way. He got engaged. Otherwise, they pushed through successfully in a couple of locations, here and here, and knocked out their opponent. Here they ended up locked in combat. Overall, they took more losses that are permanent than the Hittites did. I think they caused a couple of, well, I know they caused a couple extra routes that they didn't take that add to the Hittite traffic jam. The Hittite 2nd Division, which is scattered all around now, took this opportunity to hunt down the cripples, basically, and shot a few more routed units and also some passing by, some shoot-ups at this guy, some shoot-ups at this heavy infantry back here. They thought they'd kill the heavy infantry. It's kind of a shame. It's bad for them that they didn't, because now it's in position to attack them without their chariot being able to get out of the way. Ah, well. Some serious losses, though, from the routed units. 7, 12. We're down to 10 route points left for the Egyptians. 70-something for the Hittites. this is, it's not a good situation for the Egyptians at all. They're pretty much crushed here. The attacks, though, they were kind of high-risk ones, a lot of turning to fire at him and a lot of movement around to get these attacks through appropriately. Anyway, that's where we are. The Hittite 2nd Division busts through the lines in several places, just really sweeping aside the chariots, running away, and then they slammed into the light infantry. Basically, there's nothing left to defend them because most of the runners were gone or else not stacked with the chariots, as was the case here for various reasons. Maybe a chariot broke, or that's probably the main reason they wouldn't be stacked, or else I was really incompetent. Total losses, though, only one Hittite unit permanently knocked out. The Egyptians pretty much routed, putting more goodies out there to be eaten. Okay, for the next couple activations, the Pharaoh's Guard was drawn, and there isn't much left to them. And just there wasn't much to begin with. These chariots pulled away a little bit. They weren't engaged or anything, so they were able to fire at a range, fire and pull away, and fire at range here. The heavy infantry was adjacent to an enemy chariot, so he attacked it, destroyed it, but he was routed himself. And then we got momentum for the Hittites, and here comes a problem. There's no wing within range of the overall commander, so I just rolled his initiative rating, succeeded, and allowed him to rally troops based on it. I'm not sure if that's legitimate or not. He may have to actually activate a wing, but he's too far away, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, from any of the commanders within range. Of course, they're less likely to be activated as well. So I don't know how fair that is, but otherwise I wouldn't have been able to use it for anything. It's not going to have much effect rallying the couple of units that were rallied over there. Isn't going to have much effect on the battle, especially with that traffic jam in the way. The Egyptian 2nd Division, stringing along here, did a combination of some standoff type attacks, as well as these 2 infantry units smacked into some chariots and sent them running. Kind of cleared up a little bit of space here. Now that Hittite attack is beginning to seem kind of weak. Some of it's passed by here. But in the center here, we've got this big division ready to throw in, the one that I've had kind of inadvertently in reserve. But for the most part, the attack from this direction has petered out other than that reserve. We'll see if the reserve can finish the job off, as it were. It's not going to be too hard, I don't think. We're only talking about 10 more route points, and we've got, almost 70 left. So, it looks to me like... there's not much chance for the Egyptians here, but they're making as much of a fight out of it as they can. Problem with the aggressive reaction, you can't use it when you're stacked with the chariots. So these enemy chariots coming by shooting at the runner infantry are able to pick it off in between, in the midst of the chariots. That's a very powerful ability to just ride by and shoot up that runner infantry, because that's your big threat. The light chariots without the runner infantry aren't as powerful. So we got that going on here. I'll continue the movement. But a little push forward here is clearing the Egyptians out of the way. This is Egyptian, but the rest, there was another unit here that got pounded. And there go half the remaining route points. Along with that, I managed to pull some units up. I'm out of route markers at this point. I've been, kind of stacking them and putting them between counters, like you can see here. I don't know if I want to dig out my ones from other games in the series. This game has been stretching its counter mix a little bit. This particular scenario, I think, is exceedingly bad. If you played the set piece battle, it probably would strongly. There's a lot more route points available in it, so I think it would really push it well over the limit, and you'd need another game of this series or some other counters to make make do with for that. Well, the scattered remains of some Egyptian infantry that was up here when the 6th Division fired off just basically swept them aside. And it's kind of amusing to watch. I wish I had either the patience to do what Kev Hipshot does in terms of the pulsed movement and everything, just to watch that all happen. But that's a lot of work. Or even just kind of set this up on a tripod and watch this run. Hey, I'm even dressed enough it wouldn't matter. Just one unit after another sweeping by, shooting, throwing javelins, etc. at the infantry. And then the final unit, this guy, slammed into them when they were down to 1. Now, his javelin throw could have routed them right there. It didn't happen. But the tactical quality check before the impact broke them. And they had nowhere to run. The unit was here, or the unit being hit was here. The attacker was here. And essentially there are chariot units next to every space it could go to. So it is destroyed. It is routed completely off the map because it can't trace a line back to its standard. We got enough losses here that the Egyptians are done for. They just took 14 losses. They only had 5 left, so they're at -9 at this point. And there weren't a lot of chips left, just the Hittite 1st Division. That's these poor guys running around the side of the field here. We've moved the infantry up already. And the Egyptian momentum, and they failed to make their roll on. That's the end of the battle. The Egyptians are below 0. It's the end of a turn. It's over. It's before even they were able to get their big stack. Another division coming in. Went fast. And, you know, this is maybe the probing attack by the Hittites is more realistic in terms of this was just too much for the Egyptians to face right off. They never really got off. They got off a counterattack, but it was never terribly solid. And I feel like maybe if everything wasn't set up here, sweeping across, hitting at once, it might not have gone, quite so well for the Hittites. There's no difference in terms of victory conditions between the two scenarios: the probe type attack and the full all-out ambush that I chose to do. I'm not going to do other versions of this scenario. I picked the one that I thought was the closest. If the Egyptians hadn't been routed in this way, if this battle had lasted out to here, I would have considered the possibility, and beyond that a little bit, I would have considered the possibility of resetting things and everything rallying and everything, and doing a next day with kind of a setup of the the fixed set piece battle. The thing is, the historical treatment actually makes it sound like, well, some of the images seem to show a second day of battle. The designer puts forth that this may have just been the Egyptians killing the traitors within their own ranks, or punishing troops or something along that line. I'm not sure. Usually battles didn't go a second day. That would be a very, very rare thing. So I'm not really willing to accept that there's a second day after a defeat, and certainly not after a defeat of this magnitude. You can see the Hittites are in very good shape compared to the Egyptians. I think this ended up much, much more than what is believed historically happening. It's not even worth saying historically when there isn't enough record to really do much more than say, well, both sides claimed victory. The Egyptians left. Kind of an interesting situation there. But I think the Hittites are going to win this field battle. the way it's set up. Even with the meeting engagement, although certainly the Egyptians would have had a much stronger ability to handle if all the Hittites had to kind of weave their way down, and the other force starts further back. Let's see where it actually starts, because that's kind of interest. I'm not sure. I don't think it starts back where the let's see what we got here. 3326 they're going to be close to. Yeah, that's not going to make too big a difference. They're going to be here across the river. They're going to have some trouble getting across, but they're still going to have those forces available much, much sooner. Of course, they start out in reserve, so they can only trigger one per turn. And it is the case that this reserve division, the 5th division, came into play. Is it the 5th? No, 2nd division, sorry. 2nd division, these guys here, came into play in a way that they wouldn't have been able to if I had to trickle the first couple of Hittite divisions in. So it definitely could have a significant effect. And I would say probably if you're aiming for a better feel for the battle, I think probably the probe version of the meeting engagement reflects what the historical record seems to indicate a little better. I don't know. All right. I don't know if I'm going to do another one of these right away or something else. I got semi-jury duty tomorrow, which sucks. It's like, they can't tell me for sure. I hope I don't have it at all, but they can't tell me for sure, even at this hour, whether or not I have to show up. So I've got to call them at after 11 a.m. to find out if I have to be there by 1 p.m. Now, I don't know if I can physically get there by 1 p.m., but that's their problem and mine if they have to arrest me or whatever. But, I mean, if I have to walk to a bus, that takes 25 minutes minimum to get down and to get to the train. And then it takes me some amount of time to find my way to wherever they are. The train itself is going to take about a half hour to get down there. I don't know if I can make it in 2 hours. We'll see.